Hello and welcome to whatever the hell I choose to name this thing. I won't be calling it whatever the hell I choose to name this thing. It'll be Infinity something probably. Who knows what I decide to come up with, or just even Dan Reviews Infinity Train. But that's basically what it is. We are in the 10 days leading up to the airing of the new season. I will be watching and reviewing the first season. Weird thing that happened with Infinity Train was I was super excited about it. I saw the pilot years ago, I'm pretty sure. Very excited about it. Constantly remember like Googling it like every couple of months, just like, was this happening? What's going on? Where is it? To the point where I remember they did the Comic-Con panel and they did a live stream, and it was one like talking at the and then suddenly they played the first episode and I watched that stream. So I was like really pumped for this show. Like I watched the first episode as like, you know, when it was kind of available through that stream. And then the series aired over a week, and I was really busy, and I didn't get a chance to do it. And I was like, well, I'll wait until I can do it, and we can do it like as a podcast thing too. That opportunity never arose, and I just got really busy, and it was just really hard to keep up with. And in the end, this show that I waited for years, and like, when she was like, when's it happening? When's it happening? When's it happening? I just didn't get round to. And that's the irony, is now there's a second series coming and I've still not seen the first one. It's like, how has this happened? So we're correcting that. We're going to correct that, and every day from now until the start of the second series I'm going to review an episode of Infinity Train. So I have just watched the first episode. I didn't look up if it has a title. I'll do that for future episodes. Yeah, I'm pretty excited, and I rewatched that first episode, because obviously I did watch it during that stream around Comic-Con time, so that was like June, July, whatever that was. So it's been a while since I've seen it, and I wanted to refresh myself and make some notes and stuff. So I just watched it again, literally finished like 2-3 minutes ago before I started recording. It's really good. It's really good. I think I'm interested in where it's going. They haven't quite given me enough stuff to invest me in the mystery yet. They've set up a mystery, but I'm not invested in that mystery yet. I'm assuming episode 2 will do that. The reason being, you can put a character in like a really random, bizarre world, but I don't trust you're going anywhere interesting with it yet, because you have to convince me of that. You have to convince me the world you've created is worth exploring, and like that the answers are going to be somehow interesting. And when I say interesting, I just mean like, will the answers to these questions lead to interesting like character development and things like that, or is it just you've set up a mystery of what's the situation, and then it's like, well, this is the situation? Because I don't find that as satisfying. I'm hoping it's connected to Tulip's character development, because I think if it's just she's gotten into a spooky situation and now like a weird, bizarre thing, and then she just sort of gets out of it by the end. The one slight spoiler I have is I'm pretty sure she's not the main character of the second season, so I suspect within these 10 episodes, because I think this was originally conceived as a 10-episode miniseries. I think the second season kind of came later. So my assumption is that within these 10 episodes, I'm going to get the complete story for Tulip, at least. That's my assumption. I may be wrong. I may be completely wrong. So watching it, I was like, oh, I am interested. I do kind of want to know what's going on, but I'm not like fully like must know answers, because I just right now they're not. The mystery and her character stuff don't seem interlinked, and I think once they are, I'll be invested in finding out more, because it's going to lead to more character growth. And right now I don't have that, so I'm hoping they start connecting the two, so I can, start being even more invested in the mystery. But for those who don't remember the first episode, basically Tulip is an aspiring game designer, coder. She wants to go to like a coding camp, which is 300 miles away, and her dad's going to take her, but due to recent divorce, there's like a scheduling mix-up between her mum and her dad, and basically neither of them are available to take her. So in a bit of a temper, she leaves on her own. A train pulls in, she gets on it, and it's this weird she meets one on the train, and basically each carriage is like a world of its own. The first one looks like an outdoor place, looks like a snowy field. I remember from when I watched the pilot that was true in the pilot. That's the other thing, I have seen the pilot, obviously. I don't remember the pilot at all. I remember really enjoying it, but I intentionally didn't rewatch the pilot in the build-up to the series because I didn't want to sort of like put a thing in my head. So I don't even know if... I can't even comment if this is visually similar to the pilot. I genuinely don't know. I at some point maybe I will take... But towards the end of this, maybe I'll have a glance at the pilot again and see how far we've come. Maybe like after episode... Like maybe I watch it after I've watched episode 10, and in the episode 10 review, I'll briefly talk about like comparing the full series to the pilot or something like that. So she's you know... She gets on this train. Each carriage of the train is like some weird, insane thing of its own. The rules are different, like not different, but each carriage seems to have its own internal logic. So the first one looks like it's outside, like a big field. When she opens the door and goes into the next one is like this room with all this sort of, it's like a grid on the ground, and when you touch it, multicolored blocks appear, like you can build stuff with. So she has a bunch of fun with that. But after meeting Won-Won, who is another really interesting element of this, and I think I'm more interested in Won-Won currently than I am in Tulip. Won-Won appears to be looking for their mother. I say there, I guess it's a there. It's two robots that are half of a sphere, and they link together and become one thing. So Won-Won. And I noticed in the credits, because I paused the credits because I recognized both voices. I was starting to think maybe it was Maurice LaMarche voicing Sad One, and I only know this because I saw it in the credits. So there's a chirpy one that's overly British, and then there's a sad one, and I was convinced it was Maurice LaMarche voicing Sad One, and it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be the guy that created this, whose name is Owen Dennis, I want to say. I've not got it in front of me. I wish I'd written that down. And then there's, so Sad One and Glad One. And I recognize Glad One's voice as well. Looked up the actor. No idea. Don't think I've seen him in anything else. So that must just be a coincidence. The other voice I did recognize, actually, while we're on the subject, and I was thrilled that I did, because like it's been a while since I've watched any of it. But Ashley Johnson from Critical Role voices Tulip. And I know the whole point of Critical Role was they were voice actors that were getting together to do that. But I only really know her from Critical Role. I know she also did a pretty decent video game series. Life is Strange, maybe? Was that her? And there was a whole thing that she couldn't keep doing that because she was in the Voice Actors Guild and they were on strike or something, and then someone else got the job. I don't remember. I remember reading an article about it. I think that was Ashley Johnson. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, my point being, I recognized a lot of the voices in this incorrectly. It was not Maurice LaMarche voicing Sad One. It was the guy who created the show. I don't have any idea who the guy voicing Glad One is, and the only one I did genuinely recognize was Ashley Johnson as Tulip, who I mostly know from when I spent a lot of time binging Critical Role. Don't do that so much these days because it's a lot of time sink, that show. Anyway, moving on. So the premise basically... No, I've done that. I was kind of doing the premise. Oh yeah, so she's on this train. She meets Won-Won, who Won-Won's fascinating. Won-Won's looking for their mother. But I mean, I was torn with Won-Won because not in terms of liking the character. I love the character. The character was the source of all the best jokes in the episode. I think the design is cool. I think the way they've named them is cool. I think the two contrasting personalities. I'm on board with all of that. So don't misunderstand. But one thing I am a little bit confused about is, like, I can't tell if Won-Won is being intentionally obtuse or if Won-Won does not know. Like, I think they want me to think Won-Won's just doesn't know what's happening. But I think Won-Won was written in a way to never overtly actually say I don't know, just gave really obtuse answers to the questions, suggesting maybe Won-Won does know what's going on, but just isn't, in no way is interested in actually revealing anything. So I think I'm leaning towards Won-Won knows more than Won-Won is letting on. But then looking for their mother is such a strange... That suggests Won-Won doesn't know everything. But again, I do think, because whenever Won-Won was asked like a direct question, it would give a jokey, silly answer. And I don't mean jokey as in Won-Won was trying to be funny, like an answer that's funny to us, the audience, but like it's really sort of a non sequitur to Tulip. Yeah, so it's pretty. I'm really interested to see how 1-1 ties into the mystery. 1-1 is certainly more interesting to me currently than Tulip, who comes across kind of bratty first episode. She's sort of like throwing tantrums about everything, and like it's clear that her parents are absolutely both. Well, maybe not so much her dad. Her dad just sends her a text like "lol, soz," screwed that up. But her mum seems genuinely sincere when she's like, "Look, we've messed this up. You know, we're new to this. We're trying to work this out, how to do this." And Tulip's response is something like, "What? You're new? Are you trying to get good at being divorced?" And she's like, "No, we're scheduling. I'm talking about scheduling." So yeah, it's like it's a whole thing. The parents thing, I think that's tying in directly. I don't think it's a coincidence that they spent the first 4 or 5 minutes of this before they even hit the title screen. Nearly half the episode is pre-train, and it sets up her coding, and it sets up her parents and her divorce situation. So I think I think all that is tying into her character growth throughout the season, and may very well tie into her situation. I don't think the coding thing is an accident as well. I think there's something specifically about coding and game design that's linking to the bigger MacGuffin of the Infinity Train itself. But as a character, she is quite bratty. She's, she's the one that got me was like, oh, well, why didn't you make it to coding camp? Because I fell asleep in a field and imagined an outdated mode of transportation. I'm like, oh shush, train's still used. You're just grumpy because you're not getting your damn coding camp anytime soon. Like it doesn't make her endearing. Her personality is not written in a way that makes me really want to spend too much time with her. Thank the universe for 1-1 basically in terms of character stuff, because she is quite abrasive in this episode. And it's the same with the parents, because like I said earlier, it's her mother seems sincerely sad about this, and she really does throw a tantrum about not being able to go to coding camp. And I know that that's obviously important to her as a character, but like, yeah, she's not really looking at the whole situation fairly, I don't feel. So the train's interesting. Let's talk about the bigger stuff. So the train. What's going on with the train? I don't know is the answer to that question. It pulls in and it looks like a normal... not normal. It's still a big, giant metal behemoth train that looks like it's going to, it's going into war rather than carrying passengers or carrying goods at least. Like it's a transport train for product or coal or something rather than like people. It doesn't look like it's designed for passengers, but it pulls up. It has the name of the place she's going, and then she goes to get on it, and then there's a weird whoosh of light, green light, and she wakes up in the field that's really the room that's inside the train, which is a really clever way to introduce that these cars can be anything. Is that she thinks she's outside and she's actually inside, but she doesn't seem to be in the same like dimension anymore, because basically the train, she gets on the train, which is and then she's in this weird other dimension, and she sort of steps outside. And the reason I say she's in some weird other dimension, because the train looks different now. It's bigger. It's been way scaled up. It doesn't seem to have the same style doors anymore or windows that the train she went to step on does. And also the outside is obviously now this big spooky demon realm thing where there's like monsters coming out of the ground, and there's a big like giant Sauron eye portal thing in the sky that appears to suck another person out of the train from further along. That interested me. That's that there is clearly a human form pulled out of the train and sucked into this portal. It looks like they disintegrate, which is really savage. That was fascinating. So she's not the only one on this train. Unless that's part of the illusion. I don't know. It's really hard to say. At this point, I don't have enough information to even start theorizing, but I do definitely think there's something to do with game design and coding. Maybe she's trapped in her own game, or I'm not sure exactly, but something to do with coding for sure, and game design is playing into this. So she comes out of the train. There are these like flying like bug monsters that follow her in. She goes back into the room where you touch the grid thing and the colourful blocks come out, and she's being chased by this monster, and 1-1 builds a like a wall with a little hole in it, and she jumps through the hole and the thing can't fit through the hole. They could have had a more gruesome end there, I feel, where the bug thing jumps through it, can't get through, touches the sides, and it encloses and decapitates it. Genuinely felt like that was an option. It seemed a bit inconsistent, actually, when touching it grew more and when it didn't. I couldn't... just in terms of that, like, I feel like that probably should have happened, like, by the logic of it, because part of you went, oh, the bug things can't set off these blocks, but I think it slides across the floor when it first comes in and leaves a line of them behind it, so I think it can. A little unclear how that works exactly, but, you know, whatever. Yeah, so she's definitely been sort of warped somewhere. It's not like a situation where she got on the train and now she's stuck on an actual physical train. She's definitely in some sort of alt dimension or been sucked into some other weird world. Too many clues for that to be otherwise. They've set up kind of the overall mystery going forward is being the search for the conductor. That, you know, she seems to figure out that's how she's getting off the train, is finding a conductor and figuring out which is a strange conclusion to come to, I guess. But I mean looking for someone on the train who can help her get off, that makes sense, but specifically the conductor, I guess it makes a certain amount of sense. It just seems like a strange thing to be specifically like, oh, it's the conductor I need. Trains have conductors. I don't know. Yeah, especially if there turns out to be one. Like, it's a weird magical train in an alternate dimension. I don't think my first thought would be, there'll be a human conductor, surely. I suppose the conductor might not be human, I guess. Could be another monster thing. Or another 1-1 style robot. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of... There's definitely a lot of mysteries. 1-1 seems to think there's a conductor, though, which is again a hint that 1-1 maybe does know a bit more than what's going on about than 1-1 is giving away. And I can't decide on 1-1's intentions. Are they intentionally misleading her and being obtuse, or are they just like oblivious to her need for information because they're just a fun, weird character? Unclear. It's a clever way to have a character that does know stuff, but doesn't know everything, or is keeping some stuff a hide, then where you can sort of reveal information across 10 episodes sort of slowly. But yeah, it seems that the sort of drive of it is going to be the search for the conductor, so presumably each episode will be maybe a different carriage of the train. I remember there was a Corgi style character in the pilot who I'm assuming will show up in maybe the next one. And obviously the other thing I haven't touched on is the numbers on the hand. So she takes a glove off, her hand has a number on it. I think it's 115. I don't know if that's like how many carriages away from the front she is. If she goes into another carriage, will that number go down from 115 to 114? Giving her sort of an actual, like, defined, this is how many carriages you need to travel through. And then every episode, will that number be lower until she eventually gets to number 1, which is the front, because that's the conclusion she comes to, which is presumably the front of the train is where the engine would be and where the conductor would be in a normal train. Yeah, so I'm fascinated. There's a lot going on. I feel like I've been kind of rambly here, but that's just me sort of spilling my thoughts. In terms of comedy, my favorite, I mean, it is really funny. The first episode is really funny. 1-1 obviously having all the best lines. It'll probably be disappointing, followed by going into the room, called it, amazing. Are you looking for your bagel, mother? Is just an amazing piece of dialogue. Wait, are you my mum? I've forgotten what you said last time. Fantastic. And then when they're being chased and he starts doing the Benny Hill or like a close version of it, like a not enough to be sued, but close enough to not be sued, but it's pretty much it. You know, she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm singing a wacky getting chased song, which is just an amazing response. So yeah, the show is really funny. Overall thoughts before I switch off. I was hoping this would be 10 minutes. I've managed to ramble for 20, which is incredible, considering it's just me without Chris to bounce off. I really do talk too much. Overall thoughts, though, I thought the first episode was very funny, lots of intrigue, slightly irritating main character at present. They may fix that, but yeah, I found her to be a bit abrasive and not particularly likable. But I'm invested in the mystery in as much as I would like to know what's going on, but I'm not personally or emotionally invested in like that yet. And I'm not like, I must know the answers. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, come back tomorrow as I discuss episode 2 of Infinity Train. I don't know what it's called, so shrug. I mean, yeah, shrug. can't end on just saying the word shrug, can I? Thanks for listening. Come back tomorrow for more.